Hello, today Minty and I are going to help you thread up your sewing machine. A lot of people say, I can't thread that machine up, it's not the same as mine at home, or I've got a new machine, I don't know how to thread it. Basically, all machines thread up in exactly the same way. If you can count the fingers on one hand, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can thread up a sewing machine. There are 5 steps to threading a machine before you thread the needle, and I will take you through them one by one, and they apply to every other machine that you come across. Before we do that though, I just want to talk to you very quickly about thread that you use to do your sewing. Thread does perish as it gets old, and it gets weak and it snaps a lot more easily, so be careful if you're going to use thread that you don't know where it came from, or it's come out of somebody's loft and it's been there for 20 years. Don't use it for anything that you're going to wear or use. Use it for practice things and things like that, but don't actually use it to sew anything, okay? Take your thread, pop it onto the spindle. Some machines have laying down horizontal spindles, some people have upright spindles, it makes no difference, but pop it on there. And for the horizontal ones you will need a little guide there to stop the thread jiggling around and jumping off. Lay it down, and then step 1 is just a little guide here. It serves no other purpose apart from getting the thread ready to come forward through the machine. So on some machines it's this little thing here, it might be here, it might be up here. Just to prove a point, on this machine the spindle is vertical, the thread goes on there like that, and it comes over and the little guide is there, and then it comes forward, okay? And again, another sewing machine, this time with horizontal spindle. Thread goes on, little thing goes on to stop it rolling around, and this time the little guide is up the back of the machine. So it just hooks onto the back of it, ready to come forward. Okay? So once you've done step 1, which is coming from the spindle to the little guide so it comes forward, the next step is to come forward through the tension discs. They might not be visible, but in that groove there are the tension discs that help to create the tension for your machine. You might have a machine where the tension discs are on this side first, in which case you'll come there first, but most machines they're on this side. So you come from that little guide forward through the machine, through the tension discs and down. Okay? So we've done step 1, step 2, step 3 is hooking under that part of the machine there. Step 4, you come up to the top and you loop the thread through this little silver thing which is called the thread take-up guide, which is an incredibly important part of your sewing machine. It's important to know that that is there and that it will move in time with the needle. It'll go up and down. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and number 5 is you come down here towards the needle. And then the last step, number 5, before you thread the needle, is to pop the thread through this little guide above the needle. On this one it can go either side, it doesn't really matter, and it just clips through there like that, and then you're ready to thread the needle. Now that you've done the first 5 steps, you've threaded the machine, it's now time to thread the needle. A couple of things I want to talk to you about is if you have a setup like this machine where the shank and the foot is metal, the same metal as the needle, it can be rather difficult to actually see the hole that you're aiming for with the thread. Some machines have feet and they have a little sort of white strip coming down there that sits behind the hole of the needle and makes it a little bit easier to see, but you can overcome that on a machine like this by taking a piece of ordinary white paper, pink, green, I don't care, as long as it's not metal coloured. If you slip that behind the needle in front of the shank, you can actually see the hole much better. The second thing to mention before we thread the needle is the end of the thread. Top tip, if you cut it at an angle like that, instead of blunt like that, you actually create a thread that's got a little point to it, which also makes it easier to go through the eye of the needle. Whereas if you cut it straight and blunt, you've actually got something that's quite thick under a microscope, and you might not get it through the needle first time. So a couple of tips just to make it easier and quicker to actually thread the needle. Threading the needle now. Take the paper away, pop your needle, pop your thread, sorry, under the foot and out towards the back of the machine. And you are done. So now that you can thread up a sewing machine, how about the bobbin? The next video is how to thread up your bobbin and insert it into the machine the correct way round. And I don't know if you can actually see that, if the camera can focus on that. You can see that. That is how not to thread up a bobbin. And of course I will be showing you how to do it properly. So tune in next time for the next thrilling instalment, filling your bobbin, putting it in the machine. And remember, there is no substitute for reading your manual.